The House Oversight Committee is investigating Minnesota Progressive Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and her husband. The probe centers on 2 years of financial disclosures that show a sudden increase in the couple's wealth. Correspondent Nate Foy has details tonight from New York.
Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's net worth increased by nearly $30 million in 1 year, according to financial disclosures.
I was told that Ilhan Omar is worth $30 million. She never had a job. She's a crooked congressman.
In Omar's 2023 report, she listed the maximum value of a winery owned by her husband at $50,000. The next year, it jumped to $5 million. Omar also listed the maximum value of a venture capital firm owned by her husband at $1,000 in 2023. In 2024, it increased to $25 million. Earlier this year, Omar denied being a millionaire, posting on X, quote, "I barely have thousands, let alone millions." House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer tells Fox News, quote, "The committee is working on addressing ethics concerns regarding Representative Omar and her spouse, and we hope to have an update soon." Omar claims she's being targeted.
Ever since I've gotten to Congress, they have been doing these sort of weird ethics investigations. None of them have yielded anything because I have been as transparent as I can be.
The investigation unfolds amid the $9 billion fraud scandal in Minnesota. Omar authored the Meals Act in 2020, which loosened oversight on food programs during COVID. Federal prosecutors say one of those programs, Feeding Our Future, stole $250 million through fake meal sites.
And President Trump is telling other world leaders to get with the program amid his threats of a U.S. takeover in Greenland. Here's what he said when asked how far he's willing to go.
You'll find out. We have a lot of meetings scheduled on Greenland. I'm leaving tonight, as you know, Davos. And we have a lot of meetings scheduled on Greenland. And I think things are going to work out pretty well, actually.
Trump says there's, quote, no going back on his desires to take control of the autonomous Danish territory. The president is traveling to Davos, Switzerland today to attend the World Economic Forum, where he's agreed to meet with leaders about his plans. Our ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers joins me now from the North Lawn, along with our ABC News Elizabeth Schulze here in our D.C. bureau. So, Karen, Greenland's prime minister is now warning that they've got to prepare for the worst. I mean, you heard what the president said there in the briefing room. You were there. He was tight-lipped. But what do you expect President Trump to tell our allies in Davos who are extremely concerned?
Selena, it almost seemed like the president was trying to build some suspense for his trip to Davos, where he is going to be meeting with those allies who are very worried about the president's escalating rhetoric when it comes to Greenland. He was asked about NATO and the commitment of the United States, and he did not offer a fulsome commitment. But he did say that NATO is stronger now because of things that he has done. That wasn't a full commitment of the United States under his administration to the military alliance. He indicated that there would be meetings happening in Davos, and we know that he has agreed to have these side conversations with several critical allies. And he said NATO is going to be very happy about this, indicating that he thinks there's going to be some agreement about Greenland that will develop while he is there in Switzerland. But Selena, there is no budging on the other side of this. Denmark, Greenland, other allies in Europe in the NATO alliance have made it very clear they do not agree with this push by the president, and they support Denmark and Greenland. So right now, there are a lot of meetings being scheduled as efforts to try to talk the president back on this. One of them is a meeting that the French President Emmanuel Macron has invited President Trump to in Paris later this week. The president indicated he doesn't think he would be going to it because he didn't think it would be worth it. So stay tuned on that.
Fox 13 in Salt Lake City as Erica Kirk calls for a speedy trial in the case of the man accused of assassinating her husband. The widow of conservative activist Charlie Kirk is accusing the defense team for Tyler Robinson of an undue delay in the criminal justice process. Robinson's attorneys are trying to disqualify the prosecution over an alleged conflict of interest. Fox 59 in Indianapolis with the investigation into Sunday's shooting of a judge in Indiana. Stephen Meyer and his wife were shot while in their home in Lafayette. Both are listed in stable condition. Police say no arrests have been announced yet. And this is a live look at Atlanta from Fox 5. One of the big stories there from our affiliate, Georgia-based Susanna's Kitchen issues a major recall for ready-to-eat chicken breast fillets. This comes after a third-party laboratory detected the presence of the bacteria that causes listeria. The items were shipped to distribution centers in several states. Tonight, federal prosecutors have served 6 grand jury subpoenas to Minnesota officials, including the governor and the Minneapolis mayor, as part of that investigation into their alleged obstruction of the president's immigration enforcement actions in the Twin Cities. Meanwhile, President Trump's attorney general is getting a first-hand look at the situation there. Tonight, correspondent David Spunt has an exclusive report from Minneapolis. Good evening, David.
Brett, good evening to you. We know that federal subpoenas were delivered to the offices of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, State Attorney General Keith Ellison, and 3 other local officials. We spoke exclusively with Attorney General Pam Bondi within the last 90 minutes.
Whether it's a public official, whether it's a law enforcement officer, no one is above the law in this state or in this country. And people will be held accountable. This state is a mess right now. We've seen the chaos, and it's constant. And our men and women in law enforcement deserve to be safe. And that's what we're going to do in Minnesota.
The Attorney General landed in Minnesota just a few hours ago, Brett, her first time here on the ground since chaos erupted following the shootings of Renee Good earlier this month. We reported last week both Mayor Frey and Governor Walz are under criminal investigation by the Justice Department for allegedly interfering with federal law enforcement. Bondi said in general terms about the rhetoric from the elected officials criticizing that. Governor Walz, in a statement today, said the Justice Department investigation sparked by calls for accountability in the face of violence, chaos, and the killing of Renee Good does not seek justice. It is a partisan distraction. The mayor says when the federal government weaponizes its power to intimidate local leaders for doing their jobs, every American should be concerned. Now to the protests, Brett, in that St. Paul church a couple of days ago on Sunday. DOJ officials say a federal crime may have been committed. The FACE Act protects access to abortion clinics and houses of worship. Here's the AG on that.
I spoke to Pastor Parnell. I'm going to be meeting with him shortly, and that should not happen to any Christian, to any religion, to a synagogue, to a mosque, to any place of worship in our country.
Today, we start here. Year 1 of President Trump's second term, it's in the books. And let's just say the pages are full, because whether or not you agree with what he's doing, it'd be hard to deny just how much he's doing.
Wow, that's a big crowd. It's a lot of people. I think it's like a record. So these are accomplishments. We have a lot of accomplishments. You know, I've never seen this room like this. Is this a celebration of the first year? Yes. Have you ever seen it? I've never seen this many. I hope we have a very good structural floor. You know, this used to be a swimming pool. You're sitting over a swimming pool. I could see that happening. But we need a good structure here, don't we, huh?
The president making an appearance in the briefing room today to mark the occasion. We've seen a whole lot of President Trump over the year. 80 interviews, 228 executive orders in 1 year. It's a pace that makes Biden's first year look like a statistical error. And while Trump was taking a victory lap, protesters taking a hike at a rally to walk out on fascism in protest of his administration, featuring some greatest hits.
We want freedom, freedom. Donald Trump in D.C., we don't need him. Walk out on fascism. Walk out on that bullshit.
We will win. We will win. We will win.
Hard to argue any of them are in the majority when the approval averaged over his first year of his second term 45%. You don't have to take my word for it. In fact, let's take a look back at some of the biggest accomplishments of the past year. And let's start, if we will, over at the economy. And when it comes to the economy and inflation, this is what the first year looks like compared to the first year of Joe Biden. The cumulative change in price is lower under President Trump. The administration, when it comes to overall inflation, grocery prices and gas prices, has lowered inflation. There's his now, of course, as well, infamous feud with Jerome Powell over interest rates. That was on full display this summer when Trump toured the renovations alongside with the Fed chair. And when it comes to investing in our future, well, there's his plan for $1,000 Trump accounts for babies, made possible largely by a donation from the Dell family. And of course, one of Trump's favorite words and policies, tariffs. The jury, of course, literally still out on the policy, or at least the justices, and we'll soon hear from the Supreme Court. Now, moving on to foreign affairs, we've seen the president take an assertive stance when it comes to the U.S. on the world stage, and it's paid off with peace deals like the Israel-Gaza war and the Armenian and Azerbaijan war, Syria and Israel, Thailand and Cambodia, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, and India and Pakistan. And then there is assertive global posturing with wars like Russia and Ukraine. And we should note as well that we might add where progress has been made, and that is on Iranian strikes. Those Iranian strikes on their nuclear facilities made huge waves, as did the capture of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela and his proposed acquisition of Greenland, which he just spoke about in the last hour.
How far are you willing to go to acquire Greenland?
You'll find out.
We'll soon find out. Also, by the way, it's been an extremely consequential year when it comes to culture. Most notably, of course, ending DEI programs and preferencing. He kept men out of women's sports, cut radical spending with Doge, and flipped the food pyramid on its head. He took on artificial dyes in food as well. But maybe the most marked change from the previous administration, border security. And the numbers there, well, they're stunning. 0 catch and releases for the 8 straight months. 1.9 million illegal immigrants have voluntarily self-deported, and there's been 650,000 deportations.
President Trump is expanding his immigration enforcement operation into Maine. Correspondent Griff Jenkins received exclusive access to the agents there as they rolled into the state. He reports tonight from Portland. Good evening, Griff.
Yeah, good evening, Brett. And frigid temperatures did not stop ICE from hitting the ground running here. Fox had cameras exclusively embedded with what was DHS dubbing an Operation Catch of the Day. Now, some targets proved harder than others to capture. This Sudanese man has more than a dozen criminal convictions in Maine, according to the Homeland Security Department. Those include aggravated assault, false imprisonment, and violation of protection orders. A federal immigration judge had ordered his final removal, but until today, he was roaming free due to Maine's sanctuary policies. And 2 Ecuadorian nationals also caught in troubled waters, facing drunk driving charges. One crossed the border illegally during the Biden administration and was later released.
We have approximately 1,400 targets here in Maine, ranging from rape of a child, drug trafficking, sexual assaults, simple assaults, driving while under the influence, you name it, they're on the target list.
Deputy Assistant Director of ICE, Patricia Hyde, says that illegal criminal aliens on the list are also from Senegal, Somalia, Honduras, Guatemala, and the Congo. Portland's mayor is blasting the crackdown, saying this: "We are a welcoming city. There is no evidence, though, of unchecked criminal activity in our community requiring a disproportionate presence of federal agents." And Lewiston's mayor posting an ICE Watch hotline today, available in 9 languages.
They ban their law enforcement from partnering or even communicating with ICE. And when law enforcement doesn't communicate with law enforcement, that puts our communities in danger.
And so far today, ICE says they have arrested nearly 50 individuals, and agents say that in some instances that agitators did impede their operations, but Deputy Assistant Director Hyde says that they won't stop until they get everyone on their target list.
Because we have another case of police confronting people for online posts, but this time it's not from Europe. This time it's from Miami Beach, Florida.
Is that your account?
I refuse to answer questions without my lawyer present, so I really don't know how to answer that question either.
Well, like I said, you're not going to jail.
This is freedom of speech. This is America, right?
And
Veteran.
And I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
We're just trying to see if it's you, because if we're not talking to the right person, we want to go see who the right person is.
Okay, how can I help you?
So pretty much it's just a statement that was made as far as,
verbatim, it says the guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians tried to shut down a theater for showing a movie that hurt his feelings, and refuses to stand up for the LGBTQ community in any way. Even leaves the room when they vote and on related matters. Wants you to know that you are all welcome. Clown face, clown face, clown face. 3 days ago.
You don't know if it was you?
I'm not going to answer whether that's me or not.
Okay.
The concerning part, and not concerning for the person who's posting it, what we're just trying to prevent is somebody else getting agitated or agreeing with the statement. We're not saying it's true or not.
Understood.
That guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians, that can probably incite somebody to do something radical. That's all we're here to talk about.
All right, our next guest is from an advocacy group slamming police over this incident. Joining us from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression is Aaron Tur. Aaron, thanks for being with us here today. I'm just listening to that interaction. I've seen that post. My suspicion is that the person who posted that online probably doesn't have a big overlap of agreement with, for example, me. But I do not believe that that means that anything they have to say should warrant a visit from the police.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the police showing up on someone's doorstep to interrogate them over the exercise of free speech rights is something we should never see in this country. You might not agree with what Ms. Pacheco said, but she absolutely had a right to say it, and neither she nor any other American should have to fear a knock on the door from the police for criticizing a politician, of all things.
I'm pretty familiar with the limits of the First Amendment of the United States, the limits to freedom of speech, which largely revolve around direct incitements to violence. And nothing I see there looked like what I would qualify, or anyone really could qualify, as a direct incitement to violence. Here's what the Miami Beach mayor, Stephen Minor, said about this incident. He said, "This is a police matter. I'm a strong supporter of the state of Israel and its right to defend its citizens. Others might have a different view, and that is their right. In this situation, our police department believed that inflammatory language that is false and without any factual basis was justification for follow-up to assess the level of threat and to protect the safety of all involved." It's just hard to stomach that, Aaron. In that, there doesn't seem to be anything there that would rise to the level of a threat. And if it is in fact false, if she falsely characterized the mayor of Miami Beach, well, that's cause for a civil infraction. That is cause for a civil suit.
That's exactly right. The First Amendment has very few narrow exceptions, and none of them apply here. Ms. Pacheco didn't make a threat of physical violence. And her speech is far from the legal threshold for incitement, which requires a call for others to engage in unlawful action immediately, and that they actually be likely to do it. It can't just be speculation that speech might sometimes, somewhere, at some point in the future, cause somebody to do something illegal. So, yeah, all she did wasn't express an opinion about a mayor. She characterized his views, and yeah, he has other options than deploying the police. And one thing he can and did do is use his own much larger platform to respond to her comments and correct her in any way that he thought that they were misguided or wrong.
No, we don't want to start seeing this in America.